Hello, and welcome back to Two Therapists Walk Into a Podcast. I'm Robin Green, LCSW, in Tucson, Arizona.
And I'm Stephanie Edsel, LCSW, in Salt Lake City, Utah.
We are continuing Series 9, A Year in the Room, and this week we're going back to one that has kept finding new people since the day it dropped. Episode 18, When Sensitivity Wasn't Safe, Neurodivergence and Emotional Needs. This is from Series 4, Emotionally Unparented.
This one has a way of reaching people who didn't know they needed it until they were already in the middle of it.
Which feels right, because that's kind of the experience we're talking about, realizing something about yourself that reframes a lot of what came before.
We are glad you're here for this one.
Before we begin, let's arrive, and I want to take a little extra care with this one today. If you have a complicated relationship with your own body, with stillness, with being asked to notice things inside yourself, you're welcome just to listen. You don't have to do anything with your body right now. You don't have to close your eyes, slow your breath, or land anywhere in particular. You can just be here in whatever feels okay. If movement helps you settle, if you need to shift, fidget, walk while you listen, go ahead and do that. This space is for your nervous system, not the other way around. And if you've spent a long time feeling like you were too much, too sensitive, too intense, too hard to be around, this episode was made with you specifically in mind. And not to fix anything, just to say there's a reason for all of it. And you deserve to know what it is. Let's begin. When we made episode 18, we were responding to something we were both seeing a lot in the room. People, adults, often well into their lives, who were just beginning to understand that the way they'd always experienced the world had a name. And that name wasn't a flaw. It was a different kind of wiring.
Believe me, the grief in those conversations is and was real. Not just about the diagnosis or the lack of one, but about all the years of being told they were wrong for how they felt. Too sensitive, too reactive, too emotional, and too much.
Yeah, that message, you are too much. That lands differently when you understand that what was actually happening was a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do in environments that weren't built for it.
Yeah, because neurodivergence is a broad term and we want to hold it that way. We're talking about ADHD, autism, sensory processing differences, high sensitivity, and all the people who don't have a formal diagnosis, but have always known they experience the world more intensely than those around them seem to.
What the research has continued to deepen our understanding of is the relationship between neurodivergence and the nervous system's threat detection. Many neurodivergent nervous systems are running with a more sensitive threat detector, picking up on more, processing more, feeling more, all the time. In the right environment, that's actually a profound capacity.
I'm glad you said that. It helps people that are working with us and maybe others, of course, that are not, feel less. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like they're just not apt. They don't have the skill set, and it's not what you think it is. The problem is that most of the environments these nervous systems grew up in were not the right ones. School systems, family dynamics, workplaces, sometimes religious areas, doctors' offices. Most of these are designed around a narrower range of neurological experience. And when your nervous system doesn't fit that range, you learn very quickly to hide it.
Exactly. And that's masking the sustained effort of presenting as more neurotypical than you are, suppressing your reactions, your needs, your way of moving through the world to stay safe, to be accepted, to stop being the problem.
And masking works. In a way, short term, it gets people through. But it is exhausting in a way that's hard to overstate. Over time, it takes a real toll on mental health, on identity, on ability to know what you actually need at all.
One of the things that have grown in the research since we recorded this episode is the understanding of autistic burnout and burnout in neurodivergent people more broadly. This isn't that regular tiredness. It's a kind of collapse that happens after those sustained periods of masking and overextension. And then it can look like depression, like withdrawal, like a loss of skills and capacity that were there before. And I notice that it gets misdiagnosed constantly.
It really does. Kind of mental health, those waves of different diagnoses that aren't always correct.
For sure.
Because when a neurodivergent person finally stops being able to hold that mask, the systems around them often pathologize the unmasking rather than understanding what caused it. It's a response, not a disorder.
Yes, which is why naming this matters. Understanding your own wiring isn't about finding an excuse. It's about finally having accurate information about yourself. And you can't take care of something you've never been given permission to understand. Today's nervous system nugget, we're talking about interoception. I love this. And why it's particularly relevant for neurodivergent nervous systems.
Interoception is your body's ability to sense what's happening inside itself. Hunger, thirst, temperature, emotion. The signals your nervous system sends up to your brain about your own internal state.
For many neurodivergent people, interoception works differently. Some experiences are amplified. Internal sensations are loud, sometimes overwhelming. Others may experience it as muted. They genuinely don't notice hunger until they're well past it, don't register stress in their body until they're already in shutdown. And many people move between both, depending on the day.
For people who grew up having to mask, who learned early that their internal signals weren't welcome, weren't believed, weren't safe to act on, interoception can become further complicated. You learn to override what your body is telling you. And over time, that override becomes automatic. It's where you exist.
Right. So when we talk about nervous system healing for neurodivergent people, we're often talking about slowly rebuilding that internal relationship, learning to hear your own signals again, learning to trust them, learning that what your body is communicating is real and worth responding to, even when years of experience taught you otherwise. I have people a lot pay attention to their sensory sensitivities, just for 1 week and just allow them to notice. Like, I didn't realize how much really bothered me that like I just like stack and notice, and I don't know
Yeah.
where that
Yep.
overwhelm goes. And it's just,
It,
yeah, it's
it's got to
interesting.
go somewhere. It does, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This takes time, right? So notice, especially when those signals were dismissed for years by caregivers, teachers, those systems that required you to perform like the okayness when you really were not.
And there's also something important here about co-regulation. Neurodivergent nervous systems often need more relational support in regulating. And not because something's broken, but because the nervous system is doing a lot more work, finding people, environments, and practices that help your system settle is not indulgent. It's just what this nervous system requires.
And it really is worth it. It's earned that. This really does matter. Our coping skill today is something we're calling a small unmasking practice. We want to offer it gently because unmasking, even in private, even in small ways, can bring up a lot.
Masking asks us to continuously monitor and adjust ourselves for others' comfort. This practice just asks you to notice very quietly where you might be doing that right now and to give yourself a moment of not doing it.
Just a moment. Just a moment. Start somewhere private, somewhere that feels safe enough.
And asking yourself, is there something I'm holding right now that I'm holding for someone else? A posture, an expression, a level of energy that isn't actually mine in this moment?
If nothing comes up, if there's a way your body actually wants to be that you've been overriding, see if you can give it just a little room. Let your shoulders do what they want to do. Let your face go neutral if it's been performing okay. Let yourself be a little quieter or a little more, like me. Do this. Do what you have not been allowing for yourself. I promise it is magical and it long term will benefit you.
Yes, this isn't about performing that authenticity. It's not a new thing to get right. It's just a moment of not working so hard. Even just 1% of letting your nervous system be what it actually is without consequence.
For some people, this will feel like relief. We realize for others, it might feel strange or even uncomfortable, aversive, because for a long time, being yourself carried real risk. We recognize that. If that comes up, that's not something to push through. That's something to be curious about and with at your own pace in your own time.
Yes, and definitely do not have to mask or unmask all at once. You don't have to unmask for anyone else. Even one small, honest moment in private is a nervous system learning that it's allowed to exist. This episode comes from Series 4, Emotionally Unparented, which is a series I still recommend regularly to clients, to colleagues, to people who find the show and don't really know where to start. Something in that series has a way of landing for people who have spent a long time feeling like the odd one out in their own life. And this episode in particular shifted something in how I show up for myself. I came into it understanding HSP, which is highly sensitive people or person, from a clinical place, and somewhere in the making of it, in the years since, it became more personal. And not like a sudden revelation, more like the research just kind of like finally just caught up to something I'd been quietly aware of for a long time. I felt seen, and that changed, again, how I listen to clients too. I'm better now at hearing maybe what's underneath what someone is saying, the effort of holding themselves together while they talk. And once you kind of see that, you really can't unsee it.
True. For me, the shift has been quieter than I expected. I didn't come out of this series feeling like a different person per se. I came out of it feeling more legible to myself. Like the science confirmed what I'd been carrying for years without quite trusting. And that's what I bring into the room now. This grounded sense that the science doesn't lie, that the skill sets I've built, learned, and now teach to others are real, and they hold up. For clients who have spent their whole lives being told their experience was wrong or too much or made up, being able to say, actually, here's what the research shows that matters. It gives people permission to trust what they already knew.
Which is really what this whole series was about. Not telling people something new, giving what they already felt somewhere solid to stand. This week's reflection question: when in your life were you told directly or indirectly that the way you experienced things was too much? And what did you do with that? Where did it go?
You don't have to answer that out loud. You don't have to answer it today. Some questions do their best work just by being asked.
Thank you for being here for this one. It's one we hold carefully, and we're grateful for everyone who has reached out after the original. Your responses to this episode have stayed with us.
We'll see you next week. And remember, healing isn't linear, and we're here for the ride. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for therapy, medical care, or professional advice.
Listening to this podcast or this episode does not create a therapeutic, clinical, or professional relationship with us.
If you're experiencing distress, physical symptoms, or emotional concerns that feel overwhelming, we both encourage you to seek support from a qualified healthcare or mental health professional.
And if you are in immediate danger or need urgent support, please contact local emergency services or a crisis line in your area.